Good morning, Judith.
Good morning, Sonya.
Welcome to the Coaches Cup. I'm Sonya Green from SonyaGreenCoaching.com.
And I'm Judith Fender. I'm one of the coaches with the No BS weight loss program.
And today we are talking about all or nothing thinking, which seems like a very relevant topic in our country right now. So we're just gonna jump right in and kind of define all or nothing thinking. And I'm gonna use, I think, the current climate to kind of unpack it. But Judith and I have pre-gamed a little, and she's gonna talk about how it stretches even beyond that.
I'm going to do my best.
But with all or nothing thinking, we are all in on a certain idea, on a certain thought. And so I see this playing out in our country right now, in our political thought, that we are so polarized. Everything is black and white. It's obviously this side is right and obviously this side is wrong. And so you have, with all or nothing thinking, there's no ambiguity in our minds. There's no tension in our minds. But oddly, we don't rid ourselves of that tension. We just throw it into our relationships. So if there's no ambiguity in my mind, if this side is right all the time and that side is wrong all the time, that doesn't cause any tension in my mind, but it can cause a lot of tension in my relationships because I'm not open to examining both sides. It's just black and white.
Right. So I hope I'm following this right. In the end result, when we are asserting our internal, our all or nothing thinking, and we're carrying it into society, then this is the conflict that's going on. We see
Yes.
conflict in um, our environment. I don't
Yeah,
know to categorize it.
absolutely.
And when there's conflict and when people can't entertain the idea that they could be wrong, that it could be right and wrong, right, which is the whole premise of the thinking all or nothing. When you can't hold the tension,
Mhm.
what if there is another way? How can we both be right?
Yeah.
Then the end result is there's no evolution, there's no growth, there's just conflict, and there is just just all or nothing.
Yes. So in a situation like, uh, in a political system, whether it's ours or any other, um, there's evolution or there's revolution,
Ooh, yeah.
right? And
Mhm.
revolution comes from there's no examination of the issues. I'm right, you're wrong. So we're gonna, the only way to settle this is to fight it out. Evolution is, yeah, like what you said, taking a step back and saying, oh, well, there's right and wrong on my side. There's good and bad in my way of thinking.
Mhm.
There's room for growth. There's room for ideas. There's room for discussion.
Mhm.
And that leads to an evolution.
I love that comparison with evolution and revolution. Like that is just like kind of just blowing my mind a little bit when I think about um, just so many areas of life with that.
Yeah. Yeah, because you can expand that. You
Mhm.
know, uh, I can think of that, with even with weight loss. Are we fighting? Are we fighting ourselves? Or are we moving forward? Anytime we're resisting, we're in all or nothing thinking.
It is so true.
Boom. Okay, we're
Right.
done.
That's it, folks. We'll be back next week.
Yeah.
Yeah. Um,
You look like you were getting ready to say something
Well,
about that with
my mind is all over the place. I'm somewhere between how far are we talking about politics
yeah.
and
Yeah, that's far enough for me. I mean,
Okay, me too, me
I
too.
I think we've had moments in this country where we have been um things have been this tense before. And when we all draw toward the center and into discussion, then, there's space for everyone and you see less revolution.
Right, and
So,
I love that, thinking of drawing to the center because then you're coming from your polar end
yes.
to the center of the earth, if you will, like if you're at the North Pole and the South Pole, but you come to the
Mhm.
equator,
Yeah.
let's meet there and let's have discussion. And there
Yeah.
can right and wrong,
Yeah.
good and bad.
Yeah. And so we are taking this all or nothing thinking, now we're going to internalize it and show how this can work in our own minds. And I'm going to invite you to tell on me and my all or nothing thinking because last night we were talking, we were just kind of chatting and Judith jumped into coach mode and caught me on some all or nothing thinking, which was just brilliant.
I can't even really remember how it unfolded, but Sonya was saying something like she hadn't been planning or, I don't even remember Sonya, except I said, "Do you want me to coach you on this? Because you can make a plan." And you were like, "What?"
Yeah, I think I don't remember exactly what I said, but I said something about, yeah, if I made a plan, then I'd have to follow it.
That was it, yeah.
And you said, and we're talking about, folks, we're talking about a food plan. I'll back up just a little bit, because that's one thing I've been working on this year is my weight, and so I had been making a plan in my head, but I hadn't been putting it down on paper because I hate to be wrong.
Mm, all or nothing thinking.
That's right. And in my mind, if I wrote it down and I didn't follow it perfectly,
Mhm.
then I would be screwing up. I would be, and this is something that I've been working on for a couple of years now because, this goes back to that grading myself, that daily on the planner, there's a portion where you could grade yourself, and I would grade myself like a 2 or a 1 every single day just because that's where I assumed that I was.
Wow.
So so this is it shined the light on the fact that I still need to work on my there's room for me to make a plan and be wrong, and guess what, folks? Learn from where I'm
Oh my
wrong.
word. If we're not learning from what we're doing, like, then what's the point? I'm exhausted with that. Like, we're learning. We're always learning.
Yes.
We're practicing. And I've got a vision board behind me and I keep forgetting that one of my words, I need to make myself a note. I'm serious. One of my words for the year just needs to be practice. I'm practicing.
Mhm.
That's all I'm doing. I'll never forget my dad. He likes to bug like attorneys and doctors. Why are you called practicing? What does that mean? Practicing attorney and a practicing physician. Like, was it, because they're just doing their best practice. Why don't
Mhm.
we extend that same grace to ourselves? Why aren't we just practicing doing our best life?
Yeah.
A meeting somewhere in the middle. Just practice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it takes so much pressure off of us. If I have to be right, or if the only other thing I can be other than right is wrong, how much pressure does that put on me?
Mhm.
If we're practicing, then we're in this middle space. It's
Mhm.
ambiguous and that's uncomfortable,
Mhm.
but that's also where growth happens, right?
It's absolutely where growth happens, and I don't know what podcast we talked about this on, but I'm thinking about, Michael Jordan and how many free throws he threw, and how many, what the percentage is, I don't know. But the craziness
Mhm.
around it is he practices a lot or did
Yeah.
for the points that he did
Yeah.
score, but he had so many more misses.
Yes, and it's that way for everybody. The best pitchers in baseball also have the highest, um, strike not strikeout, but they also have the highest, um, yeah, strikeout percentage.
Oh, yeah,
So,
because they
they've
practice.
struck out more than the average player because they're going for the home run. So,
Yep.
it's that tension, it can be both. You can
Mhm.
have the most strikeouts and the most home runs. People
Practice.
don't remember the strikeouts if you've got the most home runs.
Mhm.
People don't and that's so much of it, isn't it? We worry about what other people are thinking.
No. We don't do that. That's not true, Sonya. We're no.
Mm, yeah. Nope. We don't need to be in our cave with our people who
Oh,
accept us. So, that's a good segue, though, to why you have to get in order to stay out of all or nothing thinking, you really have to get solid on your value system.
right.
You do have to know, what are my core values? What are my core beliefs? What do I base my decisions on? Because there are things, if you are committed to investigating and evolving and discussing, then you do have to have a basis from which place you can understand both sides.
Okay. So I want to pull this back to weight loss. So if we're
Okay.
talking about like, would this be like where you would decide on the value of losing the weight, or is this the why of losing the weight?
Yeah. Yeah.
The
Talk about
value.
that.
Well, I don't know. Like, well, I'm trying to think to equate it to the all or nothing thinking, and then if we have to define the value, then we are coming to the resolution, not revolution, the resolution within ourselves of what what we're going to experience, right? The obstacles along the way
Mhm.
to get there, and the obstacles are going to be overcoming all or nothing thinking I have to eat plant-based food or
Yeah.
do keto, or
Yeah.
there are only good foods, and then I can't have quote bad foods.
Yes.
But that it's when yeah, okay. I just
Yeah,
want
I think that happens all the time. People set up in their minds, they have this idea, I can only eat these foods. I have to clean out my pantry before I start losing weight. I have to get all the bad foods out. That's all or nothing thinking.
necessarily a bad idea. Like, in the
Yeah.
beginning, you want to set yourself up for success.
Mhm.
But when, at some point, that within yourself and that tension, you have to come to the middle, right? And when you
Yeah.
meet yourself in the middle, the equator with yourself, that it's okay, that I can have all the things in moderation
Yeah.
that I choose.
Yeah. That's
Mhm.
that's the key, in moderation. Again, pulling back toward the center. Not none of it and not all of it.
Which
That
is so interesting. I always think of it as the self. Like when we say center,
Mhm.
like I think of things as always back to the self, and the self is neutral because things are happening right outside of us.
Interesting.
Mhm.
Well, that brings up the other example I think that we were talking about. I was
Authentic.
coaching a client the other day, um, and I've coached her for a while now, and we were talking about, um, she finished a degree and got a promotion, and she's also working on her weight loss, and she was talking about it, and it hit me the things that she was saying. I don't remember exactly what she said, but it hit me that in her mind, she could only do one thing at a time. She could either learn her new job or she
Mhm.
could lose weight.
Mhm.
And that's all or nothing thinking. I have to push all of my energy into one area. And I said, "Wait just a minute, this is really a holistic process because all of these external things affect the center, affect you. So, how you eat, how you sleep, how much water you consume, how much work how much time you spend working, the
Mhm.
pressure you put on yourself, all of those things work together holistically to affect who you are as a person and how you feel and think as a person.
And
So, yeah, so you need to be planning holistically to move forward. You can do more than one thing at a time. You
which
have to.
I just so appreciate this conversation because I just, using the word holistically, like my mind goes to doctors or food approaches,
Mhm,
but I think I always think of the self. If the
mhm.
self, if the self is whole, if the self is contained, if the self is loved and nourished and
Yeah,
properly functioning, if the self is at neutral, then from that space that you are capable of your best.
yeah, and you
Maybe.
can't divide yourself into we try to.
Mhm.
I I can only speak for women, and I guess I can only speak for myself, but I have worked with enough women to say that this is pretty true. We we go after a thing, and we think that we have to spend all our energies on it. I mean, look at women and career.
Mhm.
How many times we've talked about this with you. You made a decision in your mind you couldn't run a business and have children or raise children.
Mhm.
And so your husband did that and you stayed home with the children. And
Mhm.
there's absolutely do not hear me saying there's anything wrong with that, folks. I there is nothing wrong with that. But we have a belief that, you know, sometimes that it's all or nothing. I have to focus completely on my career.
Which is exactly like even sitting here in this moment again, this is all happening live, folks. Um, there was some health conditions, like I had had several miscarriages, and then the decision was made. But I also, because I was all in on the business and I didn't have balance for myself, I couldn't see the possibility of being pregnant and working because I didn't know how to balance
Mhm.
center. I could not find center
Yeah.
with myself on how to do it all
Yeah.
at
Who
my best.
can? Who can?
Right? But it's taken me like 53 years. I still carried that mentality a little bit to the
I
present day. I'm still unpacking that shit.
Well, and it is very strong in society. That's the whole point. I women have this we carry this belief that we have to do it all, and what's the quote that Ginger Roger no, not Ginger Rogers, who
Oh, I was thinking, I know exactly
is
what
that
you're
right? Is
I
that
don't know,
right?
but I know dancing
Yeah,
backwards in
she
high
had to
heels and stuff.
yes,
That's
she
Kenny
had to
Rogers.
do everything Fred Astaire did, but backwards and in high heels.
Yeah, yeah.
And that's the belief that we carry. We focus on we've got to do it all. And if we don't do it all, then we either believe we're not doing it well and we're finding fault with ourselves all the time, or we believe we have two options. I hear women say this all the time. Well, I've decided not to have children. I'm going to have a career. Or I've decided to have children, so I'm not going to have a career.
Mhm, mhm.
And I think that has damaged our evolution
Mm,
as women because we fight this all or nothing belief, this all or nothing thinking.
mm,
Why can't we work if we want to be, find something satisfying to do or something to support our families and still have our families and believe that we're making a contribution without being critical about it. Well,
yeah.
I could be doing more or I should be doing, it's always, if something's going well in our career, then we're looking at our family. Well, I had to miss Susie's recital or I had to, and using that to judge ourselves instead of
Oh,
just coming into the center and saying, "Look what I'm doing."
yeah.
How do I feel as a person?
Mhm. Like I said, still unpacking that shit.
Mhm.
It's true though. It's the self-judgment component. Um, I I I look forward to the day that it's not there. However, I'm not going to hold my breath that it's going to go away anytime soon. I have keen awareness around my self-judgment.
Yeah. Well, and it's evolution
Mhm.
happens slowly.
Mm.
Generally, right? I mean, that things we evolve over time. So, yeah, I don't think it's any coincidence that we came to this work at, this midpoint in our lives.
Oh
I,
wow, yeah.
I very, I very optimistically say midpoint. We're both probably past our midpoint, but
Oh,
you
no.
know,
Yeah.
around that half century mark is when we come to this work because we have been in the thick of it in our minds in that all or nothing,
It's so
raising
true.
children
It's so
and
true.
yeah, and it's, now we're backing up and taking some time to figure out who is at the core. Who are we? What is our value system here in our centers?
Oh, so good. Yeah, what is? I like this. Mhm.
Yeah. So, many times all or nothing it can be your thinking and it is your thinking, but it can be your action, and we've alluded to this. But to put this in terms that we've talked about before, all or nothing action looks like perfectionism
Oh god. Yeah.
and it looks like overwhelm.
Mhm. Mhm. Never been there.
Yeah.
Never been
But you've heard about it, right?
heard about it. I have no knowledge of either of those.
Yeah, and so I wanna bring it to another area where we see it, and I this can be kind of a touchy area, so I want you to hang with me, listeners, and let us unpack this fully. But in all or nothing thinking, I wanna look at it in terms of victim versus victim mentality.
Mm. Mhm.
And there are absolutely victims in this world. There are
Mhm.
victims of abuse. There are victims of horrible atrocities.
Mhm.
But I want to differentiate that from a victim mentality.
Mhm.
There are also people who experience these atrocities, this abuse, whatever you want, whatever the situation is. Um, and some of them decide they become a victim of the situation, of their circumstance, and some people decide, "I am not going to let that circumstance define me."
Mhm.
And so, with all or nothing thinking, it's important to think about what is that victim mentality? Some people have a victim mentality who they just think they've been wronged. They may not have even suffered any real abuse or atrocity, but I do want to identify, there are true victims in this world. So don't hear me say that there's not. But when people have a victim mentality, many times they hold on to this idea that everything's against me. Everyone is against me. I can't move forward in my life because every time I try to do something, I get, another thing thrown at me.
Mhm.
Um, we get to decide victim mentality, not being a victim, but victim mentality is a decision. So, we get to decide if we're going to be a victim of our circumstances or if we are going to realize that everybody has both positive and negative in their lives. And many times, if you're focused on the negative, if you're focused on being a victim, then you are inviting more ways, more negativity in your life. You're inviting it in.
Yes. Is this where, like, for instance, like, say a wife has, um, who maybe he has had a husband that has been um, a drinker, an alcoholic, or maybe, something to that degree, however we want to classify that, for
Mhm.
years that she's been in the marriage. And like when he stops, but she still is victimizing herself over and over because she's holding on to the negativity and
Mhm.
still blaming and holding all the conflict within herself, creating this this energy of not being able to see past that he's not the problem.
Yeah.
He's not the problem. It's her thinking around
Yeah. Absolutely.
his behavior.
I've seen that people victimize themselves over lots of different things. Maybe, well, when I was little, my parents divorced. And
Mm,
so
yeah.
I never got to experience a stable family, or um my boss fired me. Never mind that your boss fired you because you were late to work 7 times in the last 3 weeks.
Mhm.
My boss fired me. And it's pushing that out, looking for an external reason rather than, again, I'm always right. That's where victim mentality and all or nothing thinking come in. I'm always right. Somebody's doing something to me.
Mhm.
Instead of realizing that there is a tension there. I,
Mhm.
I can have a job, but I have to be on time to work. I
Mhm.
can have a relationship, but I can't always be the one who's right in that relationship.
Mhm.
It's that give and take. There's not just one way to look at it.
Mhm.
And feeling, we all fall into victim mentality at some point. Some people more than others,
Mhm.
but we all do it even in small ways. If we see an injustice, that we think there's an injustice that's been done to us or to our children. Well, that teacher, she just doesn't understand my son or my daughter. Yeah,
Mhm.
my baby, that's right. She just or he just doesn't understand. That's a victim mentality, and that is not useful.
Mhm.
It's a drain on our energy. It's a drain on who we can evolve to be.
Mhm.
It's limiting our potential.
Mhm. I can't lose weight because I don't know what's for dinner. I can't lose. I don't know what to put on my plan because my husband cooks dinner. I can't lose weight.
Yes.
I don't know what he's going to make. Yeah.
Yes. There
Mhm.
you go. See? Thank you. That's an excellent example. We all do it sometimes. It serves us not at all.
Nope.
Not in the big things, not in the little things. It doesn't serve us.
Mhm.
So, the next time you think about some injustice that's been done to you or some reason you can't do something,
Mm.
let your all or nothing thinking light go off and think, okay, what's the error in my thinking here?
I like that.
What adjustment can I make to put the control back on in my own hands? I mean, that's the ironic thing about it.
Mhm.
We're giving away control
Mhm.
to something that we could have control over.
It's so interesting. I just come back to the self. What are the facts?
Yes.
What are the facts? And what am I thinking? Like there, we all can't be right and we all can't be wrong.
Right. Yes. Yes. Yes.
There's all in the middle.
Yeah. So, as we're winding down, we want to leave you with 3 questions that you can ask in your all or
Mhm.
nothing thinking to kind of help you decide, how do I focus on evolving? How do I focus on the center, on the core, so that I can evolve rather than always being in this resistance pattern?
So, me, you,
Yeah, go for it.
what feels authentic and true to me right now? And take action from that place when you are in experiencing this level of thinking or questioning your where you are. What feels authentic and true to me right now?
And how do you do that? Like, how do you, can you think of an example of when you do that?
Well, specifically, what always comes to mind is like it's like the urge to eat or wanting to grab at some food. Is this going to serve me? Is
Yes.
this going to get me to my goals? Does this feel? Is this my best
Yeah.
for me, for the
Yeah.
self, for the whole?
And
No.
you, yeah, and I mean, we have that, we all have that voice um in our heads that we know.
Mhm.
Yeah, there's I want and there's not good for me. It's that those little the angel and devil that sit on
Mhm.
our shoulders. We know. We know the answer to that. So what feels authentic and true in that moment?
Mhm.
Not what feels good. Don't hear us saying what feels good, because that's not what we're saying. What's going
Agree.
to be the best for me. The second one is, where can I make the most impact?
Mm.
And you had that one worded slightly differently. How are you?
Um, well, it was, where do I have a superpower or a
Yes.
leverage?
Yes.
Mhm.
So where can I make the most impact in my life? Where do I have that superpower where I can really grab
Dignity.
on? Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm.
And take that, that first step with that sense of power.
Mhm. Make a plan.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I was thinking for you.
Yeah, I know you were. Yeah, you had me there. Where I can make the most impact is I could write a plan, and I did.
Mhm.
So, that's where it starts. And then our third one.
Oh, yeah, so good. What can I release for now? What can I release for now? When I think of releasing energy or releasing, when I let go of my all or nothing thinking, when I let
Yeah.
go, how that feels. And do I like that feeling?
And let me tell you, anytime I let go of perfectionism,
Mhm.
anytime I let go of the feeling that I have to be right,
Mm.
that is an energy suck. That's an energy drain on our bodies, and we don't even realize it.
Yep. Yep. For me, no, I've been leaning into, and I know it's not done perfectly, but I do have a tendency for, this is not good enough. I could do better. This is your best work. If I just had more time, if I didn't have this stress, I make up all these stories in my brain. And the one I come back to is, how can I make this fun? That just is like flips the energy switch on it. I don't know if this is a hack or where I'm going with this, but maybe it just is a reminder to myself when I
Yeah.
release the 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 pain that I'm putting on myself,
That
feeling
victim
like,
mentality.
right, feeling like the house is on my shoulders, that when I just put that house to the side, I'm like, huh, if I wasn't carrying this house, how would I be making this fun? What would this be like? Because shit's fun.
Mhm.
It's a total hack.
Yeah. And sometimes it does require some constraint.
Ugh.
Um, for those of you who listen on the podcast on iTunes, the podcast, you noticed that there was a slight discrepancy in our last couple of episodes where constraint was flip-flopped with our year in review, and I take total responsibility for that. But we spent an episode, it was supposed to be the first episode of the new year, talking about constraint.
Mm.
And that's, that's part of this. What can I let go of for now? And
Mm,
perfectionism, if you can
mhm.
let go of having to be right all the time, your life is going to be so much better.
Right, and I'm like, there is no perfectionism.
No, if you let go of having to be the victim all the time, that's a lot of work, folks. If there's any of you out there who are practiced victims, it's heavy. Let it go. Be willing to be wrong sometimes, be right sometimes. The world's not after you, the world
Mm,
is neutral.
mm. Truth, truth.
So if you neutralize yourself too,
Then
then
yeah, yeah, be the cloud. Just be the cloud. Things just come and go.
yeah,
Be neutral.
yeah. All right. You got a call to action for them?
I do. I'm gonna have to flip the page because I've already forgotten it.
Many other good things we're talking about.
Um, where what happens in your brain when you let go of all or nothing thinking? That's your call to action. Where can you let go? What are you carrying right now? What house are you holding on to?
Mhm.
What heavy purse we use in coaching terms a lot?
Yeah.
What are you carrying around that just feels heavy, feels oppressive?
And, I think that's why it seems like a lot of the women who are drawn to this work, and men are drawn too, but I pay attention. There are more women. I mean, that is a fact. I think a lot of women get to this point, the point we're at in our lives, and get into this work because we realize we've been carrying it around for a long time and we are tired of it and we know there's a better way out there. So if you're in your 20s listening to us or
Oh
your
God.
30s, then we invite you to let it go now
What a
because
gift. Yeah.
it is, and if we can give it to you, then we are happy to do that, sisters.
Right. And that's some of my favorite, and I love all my clients, but the young ones,
Mhm.
like, I'm just like, girl, you have the world by the tail.
Yeah,
You're like just you are gifting yourself, your children, future generations. This is a gift.
yeah, yeah. Alright. Well, we'll be back next week. Until then, I'm Sonya Green from Sonya Green Coaching,
And I'm Judith Fender.
and we'll see you later.
Bye.